It's doing it. Oh my God, I think it's doing it.
We're on?
Let us go.
Well, I have the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Bob Log III at Zill's Asylum Studios in Dubuque, Iowa. This is fantastic. How you doing, man?
That's me. I'm doing good. I'm looking at your squiggly lines. That means you're talking on the computer there, and your lines are fantastic.
I appreciate that. Hopefully that means we're recording. So, getting into it, I want to know, like, where'd you grow up? Or, like, is it a lot of places? Is it just...
I was born in Chicago, then we moved to Tucson, then we moved to Phoenix, then I moved back to Tucson, and now I live in Australia. But most of my guitar playing was in Phoenix and Tucson.
Okay. Now, are we talking... Who are the bands? Are we like? Is it like Giant Sand time, or where are we at with Tucson right there?
Well, Giant Sand's still around.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. Tucson, I moved there in 1988 and started playing in bands down there then. So Giant Sand was playing, Pollo Elastico was playing. There was this band called the Blink Dogs. They're amazing. Pork Torta, so many. It's ridiculous. Tucson didn't have a lot to do, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there were lots of times when I was bored.
Yeah.
There wasn't every band didn't come through.
Was there a punk scene? Was there like, you named off a few bands, but I mean, was there...
There was this whole music scene that's only on two streets, so if you wanted to see music, you were on one of two streets that were touching each other, so all clubs were kind of connected. So it didn't matter what music you liked, everyone's kind of in the same area. And then there were lots of kitchen parties, man, because like I said, there was nothing to do. So we'd have kitchen parties, we'd have parties in people's backyards, we'd make our own club in a shed. And sometimes I think that growing up bored in Tucson was the best thing that ever happened to me because, I was bored. I'm sitting on a couch and I'm just playing guitar. I'm bored. And I'm just like, donk, 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 donk. And it's been about 2 years and I'm like, I'm bored. And it's like, donk, 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 donk.
Yeah.
About 4 years after that, it was just like, brrr.
I wondered if
being bored was like the best thing
that was where I was going to go with it next. Is like, if you beat the boredom that brought out the just hitting the guitar hard and like wanting to learn how to play slide.
There was nothing to do that I liked doing better than that. So if there was nothing to do, I'd play guitar. And there was a lot of times when there was nothing to do.
Who did you have as your kind of like people you were listening to when you were first starting to really hit the slide guitar hard?
Well, I wanted to play guitar because I heard AC/DC when I was 11, but then when I was 16, I got a Mississippi Fred McDowell cassette. Because it was, AC/DC would always talk about what they liked. So they'd talk about Chuck Berry, so then I'd get into that, and then you read what Chuck Berry likes, and he's like Muddy Waters, so you get into that, and then you get off to the side, and there's Mississippi Fred McDowell, and he sounded like two guitar players, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's when I was about 16, I started putting the pick down. I didn't use a guitar pick so much. It was just trying to have your thumb be its own animal was the plan.
Nice.
Yeah. I could never do it like Fred, but I've got it's a slightly different kind of animal.
Giant hands.
It's still an animal.
Like
I never really noticed. I don't have to look at a picture of his hand.
Yeah, I think I'm right there, but I could be wrong. So how soon after you start to, like, you're focused on slide guitar, how soon after that does do-rag form?
I don't know how old I was. Maybe 23, 24 or 23.
This is early 90s?
Yeah. And we'd play on the sidewalk for change so we could buy lemonade and cigarettes. We played in front of this Walgreens downtown Tucson, and we did it every day. Sometimes, 2 hours a day. We just play on the sidewalk. And certain songs, everybody gave us $1. So we'd play that song, a few times. And one time this guy came over and said, hot dog guy across the street says, if you play that song one more time, he's going to come over here and punch you in the teeth.
Oh, so you got a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just looked right at him and played that song again. He didn't come over.
No.
I do remember once I was playing and I'm looking down and all of a sudden I see these shoes and they were cop shoes and I'm like, are we in trouble? And all of a sudden it was $1.
Hey.
Good cop.
Was there, was there like a busking scene also in down there? I mean, or was it just kind of you guys and maybe a few other?
The people busk everywhere, I guess.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a busking scene. There was one time where someone took our spot. I cannot remember what happened with that. We just went somewhere else, came back, got our spot back.
Oh, man. So
but it's not like New Orleans. It's not like crawling, or it wasn't at the time anyway. I don't know about now.
But you guys got to tour a bit too, right? Like, and opening for or playing with like John Spencer, stuff like that, or
Yeah, we. So this band Crash Worship from San Diego saw us playing on the sidewalk and said, "You guys come on tour with us." And we're like, "Where are we going?" And it was basically everywhere. And so the two of us, our first tour was with Crash Worship. And
I've only heard tell
of
their shows
about Crash Worship, but oh my God, people, there's going to be things I'm not allowed to say on a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. But basically, every show, the whole crowd ends up naked, covered in oil and milk, and there's all kinds of fires, and there's certain times you really think you might die. And I do remember one time listening to this, I'm like, this is the greatest song I've ever heard in my life. And I realized I wasn't looking at the band. The band was to my right, because there's so much smoke and shit in the room, you don't even know where the band is. And that was our first tour. So we just thought everywhere we went in America, people were just naked and rolling around in oil. And that's how tour went.
Wow. I mean, that's a pretty fun first tour. I mean, it sets a bar. It sets I don't know if it's a low or a high bar, but it's both kind of. It's a
Yeah, it wasn't like that. Every tour after that, it was pretty much just back to regular rock and roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun first tour. And then I think because of that tour, I don't remember the order of things.
Sure.
But we toured with Beck. We met Beck just before Loser hit, and then he took us on his big Loser tour.
Oh, gosh.
And we toured, John Spencer, and we did Lollapalooza with Cypress Hill, and we shared a tent with Coolio. That was a fucking blast, man. Oh, sorry.
Nice guy. Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, he was all right. We played first, he played last, so we get there first, so we'd check out the chip situation. And if Coolio's bin had, the wavy lays and we had the Doritos, sometimes we'd switch it.
Come together.
But we helped Coolio out in a lot of other ways. So that was who else was on that whole Pavement, Sonic Youth.
Oh, gosh.
And we did a bunch of other shows, not a bunch of shows with Sonic Youth, but a few Sonic Youth and a whole bunch of bands in the 90s.
What label were you guys on?
We weren't on a label. We just made our own cassettes, sold them out of the van.
Oh, my God.
We had no label. We had no boss. We had nothing. We could do whatever we wanted. And I think that's why a lot of these bands took us, because they were just like, look at those guys go, because we were just pretty much insane every day.
They're happy. Look at them.
It got pretty ridiculous, man.
So, Durag eventually splits in what, late 90s?
It was pretty much on the Ween tour. I think it was 1996. Yeah, Ween was the last band we toured with. We had a blast, though, man. Those guys were great. It was the 12 Country Greats tour album, and it was kind of chaos. So we played. Where were we? We were in Lawrence, Kansas. I just bought this helmet in Lawrence, Kansas because I have a trike. I have a 3-wheeled motorcycle.
Oh, the record, yeah.
And then the next day there was an altercation with Thermos and the tour manager of Ween. He decides he's going home. I decided I didn't want to go home. I'm like, I can play guitar. I could play guitar for 40 minutes and figure something out. So I called Mickey from Ween, and I was like, look, Thermos is on a bus back to Tucson, but I'll come to the show tonight in Chicago, and I will, and I'm just looking around the car, and I'm like, I'll kick my guitar case with a helmet on my head and play that way. And Mickey goes, okay. And I played Chicago that night, and it went absolutely insane, and so that was pretty much.
Do you remember the club?
I think it was the Metro.
Was it the Metro? Wow.
Metro, yeah, it was a great big giant place.
Yeah.
It was huge, massive. It's one of the only times I've ever kind of been nervous. Because I didn't know what songs I was going to play. I was writing them on the way. Like I'd be driving, because I had like a 7-hour drive or whatever. So I'd drive for a while, and I'd think of something I could do, and I'd pull over some rest stop and kick my guitar case and see if I could do it. And I'm like, I can do it. And I also had an Ace Tone drum machine that had, samba, rock, jazz, Latin too.
Some options.
It had a tempo knob, and I love tempo knobs. Like, no, most drum machines now, it's a button, up or down. the tempo knob, man, you never got it back to where it was.
Oh yeah.
It was so much fun.
It's like a dial.
knob.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And how many of these ideas on the 7-hour trip end up being on the first couple of Bob Log III records?
Oh, they're all on
on
School Bus, pretty much.
Wow.
There's probably some I forgot too, because people send me videos and I'm like, I have no idea what song this is.
Yeah.
And then I'll try and learn it, and like, this is actually really difficult. And then I don't know what I'm saying sometimes, so then I have to look through old notebooks I got, and I usually find the lyrics. But yeah, there's all kinds of songs I realized that I don't never recorded and forgot about or whatever, or totally whatever happened. There's tons of them out there. Send me your videos, people. I need to learn some of my songs again.
Yeah, remember the catalog.
Yeah.
So you did the touring without any label backing or without any label whatever that they do. I mean, I know that they do a lot, or they did then. Probably labels. Like then they might have helped out more. I don't know how much. I don't know how it all works really, honestly. But
so yeah, Do-Rag, we just did our own label. Then after I started, while I was still in Do-Rag, I met the guys from Fat Possum, because we were opening for the Blues Explosion in England, and R.L. Burnside was the middle act, and Do-Rag was the first act. And this tour again, my drummer split, said he didn't want to do it anymore, left. So then I was alone. But I didn't play by myself then. But RL's guitar player, Kenny Brown, wasn't there. So then they were like, Bob, will you play with RL?
Wow.
You kind of you know what he does. You know Fred McDowell. He knew Fred McDowell. You can do it.
It's the same thing, right?
And I'm like, RL, because I didn't know who he was. And then and this was Judah's fault, man. He told me, I can't remember now. He's like, he's an open A tuning. So I get it all in open A tuning. We go up there, it's 1,000 people, and he's an open E. And I had to
real
play
quick
like 2 notes. I didn't change it. I was like, oh, fuck. So I figured out how to play along with it. It was really difficult. Wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't pretty. And Judah's just laughing at me. Then
he got you, huh?
He got me.
Whoa.
He got me good. But then at the end of the night, I went up to RL. I was like, I'm so sorry, man. I didn't mean to step on your set. Next time we do this again, I swear I'll have the right tune and everything. And he's like, Sideshow, I want you playing with me tomorrow. I want you playing with me the next day. I want you playing with me the day after that. He was so nice about it, and he didn't have to be. And then the next day I played, tuned right, did everything right. He said the same thing. That's when I realized he's not listening to what I play anyway. He was a good dude.
He's focused.
Man. I had a lot of fun. I learned more in those 6 days playing with him than I did in 6 years. He's amazing.
And then you did how many records with Fat Possum?
I did 3 records with Fat Possum. And I just saw some of those guys when I just played Oxford this trip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did 3 records with Fat Possum, and I got to tour with everybody from Hazel Adkins to T-Model Ford, RL a lot. Like, I'd be in the car with these dudes. We weren't just showing up. I'd just ride in the car with them. Paul Wine, Robert Belfour, Robert Cage. Oh, my God, Robert Cage. I got to tour with almost everybody. Junior died before I was there, and I never did get to meet Sidell Davis. I really wished I did.
That's a list, though.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. And pretty much everybody's dead. I think Paul Wine's still okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't... after that, I mean, the reason I did that was to get to hang out with those dudes.
Yeah.
And I had a blast. And Fat Possum was fun.
Did you learn... I mean, I imagine, like, you probably learned some things that you'll never forget. But touring-wise, did they have any interesting rituals or whatnot that they had to do?
Really, RL was the easiest guy on tour ever. All he ever asked, he never asked for anything on the rider. There was no, I don't know if it even had a rider. Kenny drank. There was some kind of rider, I'm sure. But RL never asking about this or asking about this. He would just say, is the amp on? That's the only thing I ever heard him ask for, is just turn the amp on. Because it usually was, sometimes it was his amp, or if we're in Europe, he was borrowing.
Sure, he borrowed,
he knew how to turn it on. But there was one time they were playing on French TV, and I was there. And every time RL went to sing, there would be this sound like, he'd go, and then they come up and they change the mic, and it's, and then they change the cable, and they're like, what's going on? This crazy sound. And then RL just goes, "It's my tooth." And he had a loose tooth. He only had like 8 teeth left. He had a loose tooth that was just slapping against the microphone. So they stopped TV sound check, took him to a dentist who fixed him up real nice, brought him back, and then he could sing. And they were like, "This is the only time we had dentist at sound check."
Yeah, well, I would imagine it's a rarity.
Yeah, he felt much better after that because that tooth was bugging him apparently.
So what leads you to Australia?
I got married and have a baby. And now she's 17.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I've been there raising my daughter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you live there like, full time, I guess?
Well,
as full time as it, yeah, it's with the touring.
I play like 130 shows a year. And when I'm not touring, I'm usually in Australia, sometimes a little bit Arizona too.
Sure.
Yeah. My daughter, Delilah, is now 17 and she plays drums in a band. And now she drums and sings at the same time. And I play shows with them, and they're mind-blowing. It's called the Salmon Sisters.
You seen any of the Australian, like, Tropical Fuck Storm or any of those folks?
Oh, yeah, I know those dudes.
Nice.
There's so many bands in Melbourne, it's ridiculous. Puta Madre Brothers were fantastic. They're not playing anymore. That was 3 one-man bands that played together. Ridiculous. So good.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Growing up, did you have like a knowledge of like, scientists, birthday party, stuff like that, or?
Not so much. I loved AC/DC. That was my first favorite
of course,
band.
AC/DC,
so everything was about Australia with them. Yeah.
Right.
So I knew about it through there. I didn't move there. It wasn't like I wasn't growing up thinking I was going to live in Australia.
No. I just didn't know if you had like an earlier connection. You were like to some of the, that kind of stuff.
No, but there's so much, man.
Yeah.
There's so many cool
Garage
bands
rock.
that they had. Also in the 70s, what is that band? The Skyhooks, which is like, I don't know why. It's kind of like T-Rex, Alice Cooper-y kind of thing.
Okay.
So cool, but you just don't. We never heard it here, or maybe people did and I just missed it. But there's a lot of
Saints and Radio Birdman stuff that
all kinds,
doesn't make its way. Or it does a little bit. It's niche, I guess.
What's the new band everybody loves? Coffin. Oh my God.
Yeah?
It's ridiculous.
That's the new Australian band?
Yeah. Everybody's into Coffin right now. They're great. They're fantastic.
Now, when I think about Roots, the Roots scene is like, that's a real broad title to bring up. But I find it interesting that, and because you could say blues too, like the blues scene, there are like a bunch of different little sectors or sections of blues music or blues players, and like sometimes it doesn't seem like they all mess with each other. It's weird to me that that you could have 3 different blues fests and they'd have almost completely different sounding or headliners or bands and.
Right. I guess there's lots of different kinds of blues.
There is,
and some certain kinds of blues might have some rules.
Yeah.
And it'd be the same with any kind of music, bluegrass or whatever. Like there's rules here. I don't have any rules with my music. Just absolutely zero. So, put me where you want to. But I have played straight up regular blues festivals, and some of those people totally get it,
Yeah.
But the people that don't might get real upset.
I would, if you get hired for like an afternoon park festival,
I'll still make friends with all the kids. Kids love what I do. Yeah,
I can see that.
4-year-olds and drunk people are the same thing, and that's my area of expertise. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Rock and roll is just taking the blues and turn it into a party. It's been happening since, Bo Diddley or Screamin' Jay Hawkins or whatever. I'm doing the same thing as that. It's just taking a little bit older blues maybe and more finger picking and turning it up to 11 and a half on the ridiculous scale.
Throwing some bass in there.
Yeah, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, you can call that the blues, but it's, it's crazy rock and roll.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm trying to do. Take something, turn it into a party. My songs aren't really blues songs. They're ridiculous songs about how good that song sounds, and what happens when the bartender jumps up on the bar and starts breaking everybody's drink glasses. I didn't grow up in Mississippi like RL did or T-Model did. I didn't go to jail. I used to ride my bike around and play pinball.
Yeah.
So that's my background, and that's where my songs come from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Play a lot of
cats. You like songs about cats, right?
I got a song about a cat because I just saved that cat. That whole thing, that was crazy, man. Tour was over. I had nothing to do, and all of a sudden, I saved a cat. She had kittens, and there were 5 cats, and oh man, it was 3 months of mayhem.
Oh my God.
3 months of kitten mayhem. But yeah, I'm playing Consuela Did It every night because I still dream about him. It's ridiculous. You guys see an animal that needs help, you got to help it. That's just what happens.
Well, right on. Well, Bob, I really appreciate you taking your time to talk to me.
No problem, man. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Excellent. Thanks.